It's tough. You never want to see injuries happen, first and foremost. You hate it when it's to anyone, let alone, the third season-ending injury that we've seen this year. But like I told our team at halftime, look, yes, we've been dealt a crappy hand, but we got to play it.
The Indiana Fever's 2025 season is officially over. But it wasn't the final buzzer that ended it. It was the sickening pop of a knee, a sound that has become all too familiar for a team that was supposed to be celebrating a championship run. Head coach Stephanie White's announcement about Sophie Cunningham's season-ending injury wasn't just...
The news is about to drop, so we're okay to talk about this, but I did tear my MCL. And if you're going to hurt your knee, that is like the best possible case. And so, this year, just as a whole, like, I think the league as a whole, but really us, we've just gone through so much adversity. And then injury wise, it's just been like, you can't make this shit up, to be honest. And so, during Connecticut's game on Sunday, I was just in the paint trying to be help side. And someone ran into my knee and it just snapped, and knee injuries are weird to me. Like, I don't really like thinking about them, but I felt a pop right away. And so
the truth is, this situation is far more disturbing than a simple injury report. We were promised a season of triumph, led by a generational talent in Caitlin Clark. Instead, we've witnessed a slow-motion catastrophe, and Cunningham's injury is the breaking point. This isn't just about one player. It's about the 4 Indiana Fever players
that play dirty in this league. It's absolutely ridiculous. These players are paying a price for Kathy Engelbert's incompetence. Doesn't seem like a fair trade-off, if you ask me. Sophie Cunningham will miss the remainder of the season after suffering an injury during our game at Connecticut on Sunday. In a corresponding move, we have signed guard Shea Petty to a 7-day hardship contract and released Kyra Lambert. Now, folks, Sophie Cunningham is out for the season. My question is, what kind of adjustments should the Indiana Fever make? What kind of adjustments does Stephanie White have at her disposal? What kind of adjustments is Stephanie White capable of to help this team make it to the finish line?
The play itself was a perfect storm of the league's escalating problems. It happened on Sunday during a brutal overtime game against the Connecticut Sun. Cunningham was in the paint, playing help defense, when Sun guard Bria Hartley drove to the basket and fell directly into her right leg. Cunningham said she felt an immediate...
Initially, the Indiana Fever didn't even report what the knee injury was. They just said that it would be season-ending. However, Alex Filippo, she reported that Sophie Cunningham did tear her MCL and that she would be out for the rest of the season, but she is expected to make a full recovery before next season. So obviously that is good news. And when you talk about tears in your knee, an MCL is one that has a quicker recovery period for the most part than something like an ACL, or sometimes even meniscus can be longer than an MCL. A patellar tendon obviously is much more severe than all of them. So it was good news relatively, that it was an MCL and not anything more serious, and there was...
This is where the story gets infuriating. Fans are pointing fingers, not just at the play but at the league's commissioner, with many on social media claiming these players are paying the price for incompetence at the highest level. Sophie Cunningham had become the glue holding this shattered team together.
Told you guys the day of the game that she was done for the year. Now, so everybody that was jumping in my comments like, oh, you're clickbaiting, you don't know. No, I knew it was over. I knew. So now the Indiana Fever have officially come out and let it be known. This right here is by Underdog WNBA. It says Sophie Cunningham diagnosed with torn right MCL per Chloe Peterson. And this is awful news. This is just awful, awful.
The cascading effect is almost hard to comprehend. On August 7th, Ari McDonald suffered a broken bone in her right foot, and Sydney Colson tore her left ACL in the same game. 10 days later, Sophie Cunningham tears her right MCL. That's 3 guards, including the team's entire point guard depth chart, lost to season end.
Cunningham, one of the best shooters, if not the best shooter, coming into the second half, shooting the lights out, right? Just absolutely dominating on that perimeter for the Indiana Fever and looking like a player that could actually help the Indiana Fever get far into the playoffs, be that X factor for them when the energy is down, they are getting blown out, or whatever the case may be. They can't even find a bucket. Sophie Cunningham was one of those players to actually get them going. And now all of a sudden, no Sophie Cunningham. I mean, I don't know how many more blows the Indiana Fever can actually take and survive, man. I mean, they done lost everybody.
The silence from the WNBA has been deafening. As viewership numbers prove, the league's relevance is almost entirely dependent on Caitlin Clark. Nationally televised games have seen a catastrophic 55% drop in ratings during her absence, falling from 1.81 million viewers to just 847,000. Ticket prices have plummeted.
Good job, Bria. Now Sophie Cunningham's out for the rest of the season. Good job, Kathy Engelbert, for not checking your players, for not making sure your officials get grips on these games, for letting all types of malice behavior to take place on the court. These players feel they have the right to take cheap shots. These players feel like they have the right to dive at people's legs. And now Bria Hartley has claimed her latest victim.
Now we get to the first major reveal, hiding in the numbers. Tracking data shows a terrifying spike in injuries across the league. Through just June 24th of the 2025 season, there were 105 reported injuries, a pace that would shatter previous records. For comparison, the entire 2024 season saw 204 injuries.
A moment of celebration was completely overshadowed by the devastating news that the WNBA received yesterday afternoon. Sophie Cunningham, the only star remaining in this toxic turd, the only recognizable face amongst a league filled with anonymous faces. The Indiana Felines announced yesterday afternoon that Sophie Cunningham was out for the rest of the season. Translation: the WNBA season is officially over.
Stephanie White's reaction says it all. She described her thought process in the moment of Cunningham's injury, shifting from crap to immediate problem-solving mode. How do we put ourselves in a position to win? What do we need to do? I think that's how I survive, she said. The fact that
And, you know, I'm so proud of this group, and I know at this point it sounds cliche, but they have been so resilient. They have been so connected. They have stayed together. They have found a way. And you know, because of that, it's continued to put us in position to win ball games. And we're going to continue to battle, and we're going to continue to put ourselves in position. And we know it's not an easy road, but there's no group that I'd rather go to battle with.
With Cunningham officially gone, the desperation for Caitlin Clark's return has reached a critical level. The team has managed to tread water, going 10-10 in her absence. But their playoff positioning is slipping. They've fallen to 7th place, just half a game ahead of the 8th seed. This brings us to
The Dump averaged 1.4 million viewers on ABC, up 13% over last year. Of course, the number is inflated. It's an illusion. Ratings on ABC were inflated because nearly half their games featured the Indiana Felines. There were 12 games on ABC this year. 7 of them did not feature the Felines. I would give you the average of those 7 games, but ratings are mysteriously missing for 4 of those exciting matchups. WNBA ratings are mysteriously missing for games that aired on broadcast television.
This has been, by all accounts, a season from hell for Clark and her supporters. She suffered a quad strain in May, a groin injury in late June, and then re-injured her groin on July 15th, keeping her out for over a month. The 23-year-old superstar herself admitted,
If Sophie Cunningham can't come back for the rest of the season, do we even bother playing with fire and bring Caitlin Clark back? Do we even bother playing with fire, risking potential further injury in bringing Caitlin Clark back? This has been a season from hell. This has been a terrible experience as far as the 2025 WNBA season goes. Especially if you're a Caitlin Clark supporter, especially if you're an Indiana Fever fan. You see Caitlin in and out, in and out, in and out, out for the longest period of time now.
Making matters worse is the brutal path that lies ahead. The Fever now face the league's most difficult remaining schedule. According to strength of schedule rankings, their final 9 opponents have an average winning percentage of .593. This includes 3
and now Sophie Cunningham out for the season. That's with Caitlin Clark still out and having been out for much of the season. The season was saved against the Connecticut Sun, but can it be salvaged, I guess, is the question here, because Sophie Cunningham was one of the better players for the Fever all year. She is going to be tough to replace, even if the rest of the squad can get to full strength. But as they've battled, as they've continued to fight, to me, you don't punt on the season, because you don't know how many chances you get, and you have to reward that grit. The question just goes back to, again, when is Caitlin Clark going to be back? There remains no clarity on that topic.
Yet somehow, despite this unprecedented adversity, ESPN's Basketball Power Index still gives the Indiana Fever an 87.1% chance of making the playoffs. This incredible statistic is a testament to the foundation they built with Clark early in the season and Coach White's
Man, I mean, they done lost everybody. Everybody. Oh, this sucks. It sucks, man. This hit me in the gut when I saw this. And it's like, you don't want to actually bring Caitlin Clark back as soon as possible, right? You don't necessarily want to do that, but they might have to. They might have to, man. Now, with Sophie, I was like, maybe she could sit out for a little bit. Maybe they could still survive what's coming up. I know a lot of people were like, well, they're running into the Lynx, and, this schedule is tough. I get all that, but even in this first game, the Lynx have a back-to-back. So they're going to be playing a back-to-back Lynx in the first game. They could possibly pull that off.
The financial implications are staggering and reveal the league's true priorities. ESPN and WNBA League Pass have seen streaming numbers collapse without Clark. Merchandise sales, sponsorship visibility, and the overall buzz that carried the league to new heights have all. This is the core of the impossible dilemma. On one hand, you have a team that has shown incredible resilience and grit. As one commentator noted, you don't just punt on the season and give up, because you have to reward that fight. If Clark can return, even to a broken team. But here's the devastating truth that nobody wants to admit. Bringing Clark back could be a catastrophic mistake. Rushing a player back from a persistent groin injury, especially into a league that has demonstrated it can't or won't protect her, is a gamble of epic. The most heartbreaking aspect of this entire saga is watching a legitimate championship window get slammed shut by factors that felt entirely preventable. The Fever had built a roster around Clark capable of competing with anyone. They started strong and looked like a... What this crisis truly exposes is the WNBA's fundamental problem. It has become so dependent on one player for its success that her absence creates an existential threat. They reaped the rewards of the Caitlin Clark effect with record ratings and sold-out arenas, but